Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to our part 3 of what is so bad about bread. So today we are going to be talking about some of the myths that surround bread. And we're also going to be looking at making a sourdough starter for the very first time. So I'm so excited about this because I've never done this before and I absolutely love sourdough. So the great thing is we can dive into that in a moment, but what I'd like to introduce the lovely Lee Ryan from Perth, Australia, who's joining us this evening over there. And then we have the lovely Patricia Bowerman, who is the Health Revolution activist, who I have learned so much information from these past few weeks. And it has been an absolute education to learn all about where the flour comes from, what is in the bread that we're eating and why we love it so much, but equally what it's doing to our gut and all of these amazing things that we're learning about gut health and how eating a really phenomenal fermented bread like sourdough, which is homemade, which is made from whole grain flour, organic flour, and from a starter, that we're going to show you how to do that. You will notice the difference, and the benefits to your health and your gut are just incredible. So I'm going to dive straight in and introduce Patricia. Patricia, what are we going to be doing today? Over to you.
Well, I think we should bust some myths about sourdough bread, about bread. And, traditionally people think, oh, bread makes you gain weight a little bit or a lot. It might be the butter that you're putting on the bread. It might be what you're putting between the bread, the meat and the cheese and all those things. But there's something else that's a big factor, and that's what's in the bread itself. The way it's made, the process. And we go back to the way the ingredients are derived. So the first ingredient you don't want to have in your bread is glyphosate. That is that horrible toxin that's sprayed on wheat twice as a weed killer and then as a desiccant to dry it out and get it into production faster. But that destroys the vitamins, the minerals, and the amino acids in the wheat. And that's so often why bread has to be fortified with synthetic nutrients. And but you want the process of the making of the bread, the fermentation process actually modifies the gluten structure. So people who are gluten intolerant can eat it. Celiacs can eat it. Crohn's, I had Crohn's disease, no problem, I can eat it. But also, so commercial bread with commercial yeast produces a phytic acid. Phytic acid stops our bodies from absorbing the nutrients. So sort of pointless. Why do you eat it? It just goes right through. But properly fermented sourdough bread produces lactic acid, and you get all the lovely nutrients. So you're starting out with organic flour, so no glyphosate. You're starting out with whole grain flour, not whole meal that they sweep up off the floor, but whole grain with all the nutrients. And then you ferment it, and that process just transforms, even enhances the amino acids. So you can eat it all day long without a problem. Can I tell a quick story?
You can.
Talking to a friend.
Oh, absolutely.
Talking to a friend just yesterday. Now, several months ago, his wife was pre-diabetic, and her doctor, did blood work and said, we need to get this sorted out. You would never guess looking at her. She is trim and thin like anything. Rides her bike, and she's like late 50s, early 60s. She rides her bike to the shops. She rides her bike to work. You would never guess. I was shocked. So anyway, she several months ago started eating sourdough bread every day that she makes herself, the same type that we're talking about today. She had her blood work done 2 days ago, no longer pre-diabetic.
That
So
is
change
incredible.
your bread, change your life. You know,
Wow.
I mean, this is life changing that we're talking about here.
Wow. That is incredible.
And that's really incredibly significant, especially for pre-diabetic or even someone with type 1 or type 2 diabetes. That's very significant.
It is, and it changes, you know, we're all talking about gut health now. It's the big thing, even though Hippocrates said 2,000 years ago about our gut and how important it is. Now we're realizing, and part of that is bacteria. So bacteria are our friends. Really think about that. Take that on board. Bacteria are our friends. Without them, we would not exist. Our bodies are covered with different bacteria all over and inside as well. We have a pathway called or bacteria in our gut called the commensal bacteria. And they are like a police force for your immune system. You know, we've got this innate immune system that we really need to focus on. And it knows what to do as long as we get rid of the interference, excuse me, and give our body what it needs. It's that simple. It's that simple. And we have bacteria in the environment as well. So we need to not obliterate these marvelous bacteria with things like glyphosate and bleach and all those sorts of things. So I know you're going to make some starter today.
Yes.
And part of that process, the bacteria know what to do. You're going to start us off, and then I'll show you one that I made earlier. That's quite lively.
So,
so I mean, we're just very fortunate today that you're actually going to show us your incredible starter, and I think Lisa is going to make her starter. Is that right, Lisa?
I am indeed. And what I'm doing now is just looking at Patricia's recipe. So what we're going to do is measure out the ingredients, mix it just to get the starter going, because there is the process for doing this. Now, I have never made this before, so I'm really excited. And I've just invested in one of those little bread baskets you were talking about, Patricia, because I don't have one of those. And
Proving basket, yeah.
Little proving baskets, so they're really pretty. And you can get them on Amazon, so you can buy the little kits on Amazon. They're only about £14. But one thing I wanted to ask you is that you, just to clarify how to make the starter, you make the starter with pure white, strong white bread flour that is 100% organic, yeah? Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
Okay. That's right.
So I went to the supermarket the other day, and oh gosh, you can see this, my bag has burst. But this is the Dutchy organic white flour.
Oh, lovely.
So this is from Waitrose. So here we go. So how many grams of this do we need to weigh out, Tricia?
50 grams of flour and then 50 grams of water. That it's a really good idea to let the water sit out overnight and let any chlorine dissipate. Sometimes you can smell it in the water, but not always, because the chlorine is there to kill the bugs. So if you try to we're trying to grow bugs. So if you use,
can you use water that's been bottled water, for example? Would that make any difference?
I'm a fan of tap water myself. Bottled water could be all sorts of stuff, and so often it's just tap water that you're paying more for.
Right. Okay.
So bottled water probably keep away from, and just boil your water even just to clean it, and then, as Patricia said, leave it out overnight so all the chemicals can dissipate out of it.
Okay. Another caution is water filters that have a carbon filter.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That can cause problems. That can cause problems.
Oh, wow. Really? And why is that, Patricia?
It just kills all the bacteria. You know,
okay.
We don't want to kill everything. We don't, and if our bodies are robust, we don't have to worry about all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I left my filter out overnight.
So it's 50 mils of water to 50 grams of flour.
What,
Yeah.
50 grams of water, 50 grams of flour?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what 50 mils would be in grams.
So Patricia, can I just clarify something? So we're talking about, you're talking about either 50 mils of water or 50 grams of water, because, you know, I think this is where people get confused. So are you saying that we would put a cup on a set of scales to measure 50 grams, or do you measure 50 mils in a jug?
50 grams. I put my bowl on my digital scale, zero it out.
Right.
And I had 50 grams of water. And then I had 50 grams of flour. So then you should have 100 grams.
Yeah.
And you just whiz it up like you're doing. Don't stir it too much because you'll overwork the gluten. Just get it mixed and then leave it.
Okay, so there's my little bowl of magic there.
A little bowl of magic.
That's my little bowl of magic. And this is, as you can see, it's just quite thick. I've just mixed it a couple of times with the spatula, and I'm just going to leave it in this jug now to start the fermentation process. Okay. All right.
Yeah, don't cover it unless you have cats or something. Just maybe put a tea towel over it, but you want it to breathe. And
you need to put it in a warm place.
Well, let's see what it will do. My kitchen is about 10 degrees.
Okay.
Centigrade, and it does fine. I did leave this out overnight, and just this morning I wanted to get some bubbles going, so I put hot water from the kettle in a hot water bottle, put it in an insulated bag, popped this in, closed it up, left it for 15 minutes, and let's see if you can see. Can you see those bubbles?
Yeah, you can see them. That looks amazing.
Oh, look at those bubbles. Wow, that's a nice healthy culture going there.
And you can see some of the bubbles on the side.
Yeah. Excellent. Excellent.
We were talking.
And so is your starter fairly loose, or is it what would be the consistency of that?
Fairly gloopy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, you'll notice it'll get gloopy over time.
Excellent. Excellent.
Don't want to waste it.
Right. So that's what we do to begin with. So we leave it like this. So how long do we leave it like this for, Patricia?
I'd leave it out for 24 hours.
Okay.
See what sort of activity you get. If you don't get much activity, then do what I did with the hot water bottle. I just get a little cheap room thermometer, put that in the bag. You don't want it any hotter than 20, really.
Okay.
And see if you can get some bubbles going.
Okay.
So then you'll take that out, and you'll take 50 grams out.
Yeah. And
you'll add 100 grams of water and 100 grams of flour.
Okay, so you double the amount next time. Right, okay.
Now you could take out 25 grams and put in 50-50, but what you take it out of, what you leave behind is the discard. Typically you throw that away. You throw it away, or you give it away. However, another thing I love about sourdough bread is nothing gets wasted. Nothing gets wasted. That discard is what I make crumpets and crackers. Yeah. And I mean, you can scones. You can use it pancakes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Someone who I recently turned on to sourdough bread, she made sourdough dog biscuits.
Really?
For her background.
Oh my goodness me.
For his gut, for dog's gut.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
That's phenomenal. Isn't it?
So that's what I feed my starter. I feed my starter all the time because I want some of that discard. Whether I'm going to bake bread or not, I want some discard to make stuff.
Okay, because that was one of the things, when I've heard people about making the starter is you take out that 50 grams. And then I kept thinking, well, what are you doing with the rest of it? Because that's a waste. Why would you discard the remainder? It just seemed like, well, surely you've got to do something with it, but that's a great idea.
Well, traditionally, ladies used to give it to a friend.
And then they start their own process. So the gift of it.
Yes, the gift that keeps on giving.
The gift that keeps on giving. That is incredible. I really, really like that.
So, Patricia,
I think
can I pick your brain? Would be thinking similarly and have questions starter, and it's a lot of it's probably depend on your environment. But you and Lisa are in the northern hemisphere, and I am in the southern hemisphere in Australia, where it's hot and humid. So do you think that when you start that starter that there are going to be variances because of our climate?
Well, yes, the room temperature is a factor. If it's very, very hot, you'll kill the bacteria, but imagine you'd expire as well if it's that hot. But just again, a cheap room thermometer, you don't want it much over really 20, 22 centigrade. So maybe don't leave it in direct sunlight.
Wow, that's going to be impossible. Yeah, because our temperatures get up to about 44, 45 degrees Celsius. So if that's the case, can you actually put the starter in the fridge possibly to protect it, or would that just kill it?
Is it that hot in the house? Is it that hot in your house?
Inside the house, it can get up to well over 30 degrees.
Wow. That's warm.
Well, yeah, I would maybe baby it a little bit and leave it out in a place that, see if you can leave it out in a place that's, if you have 20, maybe, I don't know, in the evening. Is it cooler in the evening?
Yeah, well, occasionally, not right now.
I can't imagine. I
grew up. So do you think that maybe I need to hold off and wait another couple of months possibly?
Oh, I never like to wait. I'm far too impatient for that. So I would say,
I know, I'm very impatient too.
How do you sleep? How do you sleep? I grew up in hot climates. That's why I moved to England. I can't tolerate it.
With very great difficulty. I barely get any sleep during summer. It's just too hot, and it's just, I mean, some people love it, but I'm afraid as I'm getting older, I'm becoming, I'm not enjoying it as much.
Do you have ceiling fans?
Yeah, I will put a fan on, and I've only just started using like the air conditioner in the bedroom, but it's just, I don't really like to do that, especially when you're sleeping and breathing in, that air.
Yeah. Well, do what you can. Let me know, because this is very interesting. Let me know if you find a place that's sort of 20 and leave it out to it as much as possible. And then as the day gets hot, then bung it in the fridge. You might need to do a little bit of both to really keep an eye on it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, there's a bubble getting ready to go. We'll never catch it.
We're all getting very excited about bubbles. Look at that. That is incredible.
Yeah. A lot of people, this is Giacomo, by the way. A lot of people name their starters because this is a living thing. It's a living thing. And I just think it is assisting the process. I mix it with the flour, and you'll be amazed after the 3 or 4 days of fermentation, when you dump it out onto the counter to work with it and shape your dough. It looks like one of those cellulose sponges with all the deep crevices. Oh, it's amazing to look at. And you start to shape it and you leave it, and it responds to your touch, and it responds to what you do with it. But it's in charge,
I love that.
I was saying to Lee, I've been trying to invent smell-o-vision for years. I wish you could smell this. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I think,
So I guess now that Lisa has started her starter, I guess what you'll be able to sort of keep us up to date how your starters. Maybe do you have a name for your starter?
I don't yet, no. But I'll think about it.
Maybe people could suggest names.
Yeah.
When we post this video, people could post any questions that you have, any comments.
Yeah.
But let's name Lisa's starter.
That's a good one. I think that's a great. We should ask people and get some suggestions. Yeah.
And maybe you can take a photo each day and update us of the progress.
I'm going to do that. I will definitely do that because I'm so excited about it. And I'm so excited to learn just how to make the bread, how to craft the bread. And also, you know, like you were saying about learning how to make crumpets as well, because I love crumpets. Yeah. But again, you know, going back to the theory, the myth, so to speak, of, you know, eating heaps amount of bread, you put weight on. And that now makes me feel so much happier that I can eat a couple of crumpets and not feel really guilty. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, really, and feel energized as well. I've so many people we've gotten onto this bread, and they just feel better, more energized. So it's that lactic acid allowing your body to absorb the nutrients that are in there, but they're also natural. You know, they're from God's pharmacy. They're from God's pharmacy. I lost my health about 6 or 7 years ago. Went to the doctor, all the drugs, all the tests, all the stuff, until they finally said there's nothing we can do to help you. I was forced to have a mindset shift. I was forced to either go to a nursing home or learn, change something. That's where I learned how my body works, what to put in it, why, and my body reacted. It was a long road, took a couple of years, but I've learned so much. Now I'm helping other people do the same thing. And our body was designed so marvelously, designed to heal. We're designed to be healthy. We're not designed to be sick. Think about, if you have a headache, is it because your body's low on ibuprofen? Think about that. What is the source of that headache? Look at what you're eating and consider the organic, long fermented sourdough bread from whole grain flour. And that would be a great starting point. And just wake up feeling better. Eat without those, you know, ups and downs, that roller coaster during the day.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions about gut health, about bacteria, about, you know, inflammation in your body, which is the root of disease, you know, be in touch.
Yeah, absolutely.
And let us know what you'd like to hear on this series about bread. I mean, there's so much to cover.
There is, absolutely. And I've got one question for you before we close for today. But I wanted to ask you, when making sourdough, there are so many different varieties of flour on the market. Now, I know you are really, really fortunate enough to get yours from your lovely miller in Somerset. Michael, what's his name?
Michael Story.
Michael Story. And he's got a great story, hasn't he? He has got a great story. So, and it would be great to meet him one day. But there are an awful lot of brands on the market. Now, I think what's quite kind of a little bit confusing is looking for that whole grain flour to actually make the bread with. And there are lots of different varieties. So there's whole grain wholemeal, there's whole grain spelt, there's whole grain rye. Which do you choose? As a complete and utter, you know, beginner, what do you choose?
I've not worked with spelt myself. I just haven't. I make shortbread with spelt, but I haven't made bread with it yet. I would say that the organic strong white flour is best for your starter. Yeah. Whole grain doesn't make a great starter. Not sure why. There's a, scientific chemical reason for that. So use your white flour for the starter. And then I do want to play with rye. I love rye.
Yeah.
And the kamut is an ancient grain. Look for the ancient grains.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And play around with them.
Yeah. So that's really interesting, because there was one other thing that I wanted to look at, and that was the ingredients in what you buy in the supermarkets. Because the supermarkets, Harrison, you just pass me that bag of bread there. I've got my little helper today. Just pass me that bag, yeah? And a piece of that sourdough over there that's on the breadboard. No. Yeah, there, please, quick. Yeah, it's me. Okay, so I bought this from our local supermarket. And as you can see, I've cut it in half. And normally when you've got a really good, strong fermentation going, you get lots of pockets of holes and air bubbles that obviously create a lot of...
it's the gas, gas
inside. And obviously you can see by looking at this one quite closely that there's not really a lot of kind of activity going on there. But anyway, it's still...
No, it looks quite dense. Yeah.
It smells quite nice. It smells like sourdough, but I have only ever bought it and bought organic from the farm shops and the supermarkets. But the supermarkets have latched onto this now purely and simply because this is very, very popular. It's kind of like the in thing to eat.
Big trend.
Because it tastes so good. Absolutely. But one thing that I was really interested, and I wanted to ask you this, Patricia, is that having read the ingredients on the back and looking at this, it says that it's not suitable for customers with an allergy to cereals containing gluten. So it's not organic. So it's not organic. So it's got wheat, it's got rye, it's got barley, it's got oats, it's got spelt, kamut. What is kamut? Is that
That's a lovely ancient grain. It's a lovely ancient grain. I love it.
But also it has got egg, it's got peanut, soya, milk, nuts, celery, mustard, sesame, or sulfite. Now really, are they just covering all eventualities of the nutritional information on that label, because they don't want to kind of get sued if somebody has a reaction to one of the ingredients in there? So they've got to be really careful what they put on the labels. Or is it because they've got bread that's being made within a commercial bakery where there are other contaminants like nuts and sesame seeds and things like that?
Well, first of all, it should be flour, water, and salt. Now you can add seeds to that. You can add sun-dried tomatoes and cheese and chilies and all sorts of stuff. But why they put egg and milk in there, I don't know. And maybe that's why they had to put the sulfites in to preserve it, because the eggs and the milk will go off. But I don't know why they put that in there. I really don't.
Yeah.
And the celery? Is that a flavoring?
Wow. Yeah.
But it just doesn't sound like it's fermented properly. And they can put vinegar in and call it sourdough legally.
Yeah.
Really?
Actually, it's interesting that you say that, because that's what I was going to ask you, is that I have come across people that claim that the bread is sourdough, but it's just normal, cheap, processed bread, and they've just put vinegar in it and say, here's your sourdough.
Yeah. Excellent.
In a commercial bakery, they generally go from start to finish in 2 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be cost effective to faff about for 4 days. You can't make any better bread, or can't get better bread than what you make yourself.
Well, I think that is incredible. And again, what a fantastic tutorial today from you, Patricia, once again, with all that amazing information. And I think that the next couple of sessions that we do are going to be really exciting, because we're going to be looking at, making the bread, baking the bread, and also looking at what we use with it, with that excess that you take out. So
that's the fun part. Oh my gosh,
be amazing. So if you are watching this today and have any questions whatsoever, please do join us by commenting, letting us know if you're watching us on replay today. And if you have any questions for Patricia, Lee, or myself, then please feel free, because obviously our topic at the moment is what's so bad about bread, but equally all about gut health, because that's what we need to do. We need to look after our gut, being the second way. So on that note, I want to thank you again, Patricia, for your time today. Lee, it's lovely to see you all once again. And
stay cool, Lee. My goodness, stay cool. And remember, name Lisa's starter.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Name Lisa's starter.
Yeah.
Maybe the winner would get a free recipe.
I think that would be really good. I think that would be really good.
Sourdough discard recipe.
Yeah,
that'd be a very special bonus. So it'll be really exciting to see what names you can come up with to name Lisa's starter. I'm actually quite excited about that, to see what people say.
Awesome. Okay, so thanks again, ladies. We will catch up soon, and look forward to seeing you again next week. But in the meantime, I will be taking a video diary of this amazing unnamed starter. So
good.
Yeah, take care. Bye for now.
Next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.